Alrighty guys, so today we are going to learn about exponents. I'm so excited. Exponents are so fun. I'll choose my color here. Okay, so first we have to look at an exponent. So up here, x to the n, this is an exponent. We're going to label its parts. So first, this n up here is called the exponent, or the power. All right, so that's the exponent. This little number is called the base. Okay, so we have the base and the exponent. That's going to help us when we look at these laws. So first on the left, we have something called the product rule. Product means multiplication, so if you're multiplying these two together, x to the m times x to the n, what we're going to get is x, combine the base, and then write the exponents in addition. Okay, m plus n. So really, if we're multiplying exponents, we really add them. Okay, multiply actually means to add. So let's look at this example. We have b to the fifth and b to the third being multiplied together. We actually add them, remember? So 5 plus 3, which is 8. So that's our answer, b to the 8. The next one we have 2 x's and 2 y's. So we're going to combine those together. Our x's, here we have an invisible 1. Okay, if there's nothing with the x, I like to call it an invisible 1. So our x's, we have 1 and a 2, and then the y's, we have a 4 and a 5. So last but not least, our answer is x to the third power and y to the 9th power. Pretty easy, right? Let's try this one. All right, so our exponents, let's do those first. So here's the blue, remember our invisible 1 for the r. Then I'm going to underline x in green, and I'll do the t's in black. So I'm going to come back to the big numbers in just a second. Let's go ahead and do our exponents. So we have r, and then we have a 1 and a 5, so 1 plus 5. For the green, we have x, 2 plus 2. And then for the t, we have a 3 plus another invisible 1 over here. Okay, so we will simplify. We have r to the 6th, x to the 4th, and t also to the 4th. Now, these numbers, these big ones, are actually called coefficients. So I'm going to make an arrow and I'm going to write coefficients. Because they're not little like these other exponents are, they are actually big. So whenever we multiply the big ones, we actually do multiply them. So don't add these, actually multiply. 2 times 3 is 6. That's what's different between the big numbers and the little numbers. The big numbers, we do what we're actually supposed to do. And the little numbers, we use our little trick right up here. So don't use the trick for the big numbers. Okay, that is all for the product rule. Now we have the power to a power rule. What this means is if you have an exponent on the inside and then another one on the outside, that means you're taking a power to a power. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply these. M times n. So this means power to a power actually means multiply. Okay, so let me demonstrate what I mean. So down here we have m to the 4th and then that to the 3rd. So what I'm going to say is m 4 times 3 because this is power to a power. And then 4 times 3 is 7. I don't know why I wrote it over there. I guess I could bring it over. There we go. Okay, the next one, we have a bunch of different things going on the inside. So what we're going to do is multiply, there's our invisible 1, multiply the 3 by each one. I'm going to do an extra step and distribute, but you don't have to do that if you don't want. I'm going to kind of cheat and fake distribute this 3 to every single thing. So let me show you what I mean. The a, I say a to the first power cubed, b to the second power cubed, and c to the fifth power cubed. I kind of took this 3 and multiplied it by every single one. So we are multiplying. Let's multiply these numbers. Look at the a. 1 times 3 is 3. For the b, we have 2 times 3, which is 6. And for the c, we have 5 times 3, which is 15. So our answer is a to the third, b to the sixth, and c to the 15th. We have one more problem down here. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the 2. So I'm going to distribute -4 squared, x to the third squared, y to the invisible 1 squared, and z to the fifth also squared. So the 2 goes to every single thing in here. Okay, let's start with our exponents. So I'm going to ignore the 4 for just a second. X 3 times 2 is 6. Y 1 times 2 is 2. And z 5 times 2 is 10. So what do we do with this coefficient? Remember, for the big numbers, we do what we're actually doing. So we're taking a power. 4 to the second power. So -4 times -4 is positive 16. So our answer is 16, x to the 6th, y to the 2nd, and z to the 10th. So that is the multiplication ones. Now we're going to go down to the division ones. I promise it's not that much left. So this one is called the quotient rule. Quotient rule. And what we're doing is we're dividing. However, I'm sure you figured it out by now, we're not actually dividing. We're going to do a trick where we write the base and then we do m minus n. So the trick here is divide actually equals subtraction. So if you're dividing, oops, I meant to draw an arrow. If you're dividing, you actually subtract. I'll show you what I mean down here in example 1. So d to the 7th over d to the 3rd is d to the 7 minus 3, which is 4. So d to the 7th divided by d to the 3rd is d to the 4th. Subtract. Here I have 2 different ones, so again I will do the x's in blue and the y's in green. Remember, with the y on the bottom there's an invisible one. So for the x's I have x 3 minus 2, and the y's I have 4 minus 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say x 3 minus 2 is 1, and 4 minus 1 is 3. So that's our answer. This little step right here in the middle, if you would like to skip this, you can and just subtract in your head. That's fine. That's what I'm going to do for this next one. So I'm not going to write out the step, I'm just going to go ahead and subtract in my head. So first we have the k's, 7 and 5. 7 minus 5 is 2. Then with the greens, I have 3 and 10. 3 minus 10, it's a negative. So what we do with negatives is we put them on the bottom of the fraction. So m will be 7, but it will be positive on the bottom. Here's a hint. Wherever the biggest number is, so here's the bigger number between 7 and 5. This is the bigger number between between 10 and 3. Wherever the bigger number is, it will go on the bottom of it will go where that one is. So the answer is 7. It goes on the bottom because 10 is bigger than 3. Might have been a little confusing, but anyways. Here we have P1 and 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. So that's out. And this is our answer. The last thing we have is my favorite rule, the zero exponent rule. So this says when you have an exponent of 0, the answer is always 1. So, for example, I should probably change colors there. 1. For example, down here we have 3 times x to the 0, which is 3 times 1, because x to the 0 is 1. 3 times 1 is 3, so it's almost like you're just crossing it out. And number 2, this whole thing is to the power of 0, so the whole thing is 1. No math involved. Alrighty guys, so that is the notes for exponent laws. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.